Welcome to Saxon Homestead Farm. Saxon Homestead Farm was homesteaded by my great-grandparents in 1850. I farm with my wife Elizabeth, and then my partner and brother Robert and his wife Kathleen, and then we're fortunate enough to have two of Robert's children, Emma and Peter, farming with us today. The foundation of Saxon Homestead Farm today is pasture-based system. So we farm about 1,000 acres today. 525 acres is in pasture. We milk 600 cows, and we're very blessed to be in northeastern Wisconsin, close to Lake Michigan, where we have just the most awesome environment for raising forages for our cattle.
We are very passionate about growing grass on our acreage here and producing high-quality dairy products and beef. We have a small freezer beef business. As a matter of fact, the grass that we're standing on right here is about 35 years old. This has been in permanent pasture for well over 30 years. In about 1990, we made the switch from a high production confinement herd. It was milking 3 times a day, watching my brother and partner Karl get up at 11 o'clock at night to milk cows, again at 4 o'clock in the morning, and again at 8 o'clock in the morning. It just never made sense to me that farming had to be so intense and difficult to make ends meet with that system. However, it worked for us. Why did we switch our operation to grazing? I think traveling around different parts of the country, I observed other grazers, traveled to New Zealand a couple times. I was totally intrigued with their production system. Being an island nation, they probably have the most efficient meat and milk and wool production system in the world, and it's primarily done on grass. And I felt that if they can do it down there, why can't we do it here in Wisconsin?
I'm David Miller. I help the Klessigs at Saxon Homestead Farm. My family farm was over near School Hill. We currently have a beef operation, and we currently have about 60 acres in pasture, and then we have some remaining cropland and row crop as well. My passion for grazing in general kind of started in my younger years in school. I seen it as an economical and more environmentally friendly way to farm versus the conventional confinement, row crop, plow the ground every year, spray it every year. And that's kind of the sum of how I got passionate about grazing.
Why are we still grazing today? Well, I think it has a lot to do with passion. I think it has a lot to do with working with family, great people like David Miller and my partner and brother Karl Klessig here. This is a system, a production system that allows youngsters to work. We can work with stock dogs, we can be in the outdoors. It's in my mind, environmentally a very responsible way to farm. We have virtually no soil runoff here. The moisture that we do receive stays here. And I think that we're in kind of a sensitive area being on the lakeshore here, and grazing benefits everybody in our community here.
5,000 pounds per acre is the total for that one.
What's worked well regarding efficiency and profitability? I guess this land was settled in 1850 by my ancestors, and it evolved as a wheat producing farm. We produced wheat for the Union Army at one time, for the Civil War, and it evolved into a dairy operation around 1870, 1880, and we've been dairying ever since. This at one time was a pasture system, but it was a continuously grazed, kind of an old school pasturing system where the cows were put out on a large block of ground, and we've refined that into a pretty intensely managed pasture system where we have about 100 paddocks on the operation. They average in size about 4 or 5 acres, and the cows are on a new paddock or a fresh paddock after every milking. Biggest challenges and our biggest mistakes regarding our grazing operation. We probably didn't start this type of farming early enough. You know, I've dedicated my life to developing our pastures, our fencing systems, our watering systems. I would have to say that there's probably not a fence on the farm that I haven't built or rebuilt at least once. And had I known 30 years ago what I know today, I would have fenced it a lot differently. And cattle flow and the topography of land plays a big role in how these paddocks are developed and laid out. Water is critically important here. We have permanent water system. There's a 1,600 gallon water tank under every other fence line, every other division fence here. And there's fresh, clean, cold well water accessible to every paddock on the operation. A cow will never have to walk more than 300 feet for water.
Some of the biggest barriers I see for entry into grazing and farming in general is just the capital requirements needed to start from a land perspective, and also just a capital requirement to get started from maybe a young guy from nothing. And sometimes it's just the resources too. I think some of the biggest challenges with dairy grazing sometimes can be the environment, whether it's too hot, flies. It is a biological system and you have to kind of work with it a little bit. It's not a punch in and punch out type of system.
We've got some sleepless nights, I guess. I think the future of dairy grazing is a very important topic for me because, like I said, I'm passionate about this type of production system, and my kids are, and I sometimes wonder with the value of farmland here if land can continue to be in a permanent pasture system when we've got neighboring ground that's fetching $10,000 and $15,000 an acre. We really have to love what we're doing here to maintain this land base.
My greatest hope for the dairy grazing in the dairy states would be seeing more smaller, mid-sized farms convert to grazing. I think there's a lot of economic and environmental benefits for some of the smaller, mid-sized farms to go to a more environmentally friendly and sustainable future of farming versus the traditional, conventional type of farming.
Environmentally, this is the soundest farming system that we know of, in my mind. We don't contribute to the huge dead zones in the Green Bay. We feel that there's virtually zero runoff here, and I think that it's a super responsible way to treat our land here.
Some advice I give to other grazers is try and find a good network of people that are passionate about what they're doing. You learn a lot more from other people and what they've done over the years and what they learned over the years. Bounce ideas around with, because you're going to have questions that you don't know how to answer, and someone's done it and they know the answer to how they've done it over the years.
Follow your passion and follow your heart and stick with it. This isn't a get in, get out thing. This is a long-term, lifetime commitment for me, and I hope that our next generation has the same commitment that I have regarding our land base.